I want to tell you how excited I was by some of the conversations I had on the break. And the reason I got excited because some of the questions were, how do I do this to get on the leadership track? And that is so exciting. That means like we're doing good. So I want to get into this a little bit. Well, it's actually a lot. I want the remaining portion of our time to focus in this area. I want our panel members to share with you, after reading this book, and the author synthesizes leadership characteristics after she synthesizes it for us. But I wanted this book to become personalized. You're going to get to read the book. But you know what the fun part is? That we have 5 amazing women that are here. So the question to them is, can you take the book and synthesize it and apply it to your life? What were lessons that, or characteristics that you may already have had that really helped you get where you are? And we're going to just begin with Lorna and go down. And then there were several questions that I received during a break, and we're going to go after this round. We're going to segue into answering some of the questions that I've already received, and thank you for that. That excitement generates excitement for all of us in the front of the room here. So Lorna, and by the way, they were given a heads up about this question, so they have had some time to reflect on their answer. So Lorna, if you begin.
I think I get back to where I started, and some of it was exhibited already where I was. I truly believe in servant leadership. I think I have applied that through every aspect of my career. I believe that to whom much is given, much is required, and I stand by that in terms of my community service. One of my passion is girls and giving back. And so for me, that rang true when the opportunity came to serve on the Girl Scouts of Southeast Florida, because I saw that as my opportunity, not only from a legal aspect, but to make a difference in the lives of girls. And I was truly touched when Michelle shared on her opportunity to mentor those girls. But also, I think building relationships and taking control of your career and seizing and creating opportunities. I think if there's anything through there, and then being true to yourself authentically. What does success mean to you? It may not mean the same thing as it means to me, but be guided by your own true values of what that is. And you know, it is an everyday thing for me. Sometimes I take a step back and I go, okay, where is it that where I want to go next, and is this the right path? So I think reassessing at every moment, but I think those are the ones that I constantly go back to. How am I making a difference? How am I being a servant in terms of my community and my profession? And is this within side of my internal values and thing? And then again, I can't strive so much on the building of relationships, and not just for what those relationships, but it's really about how I can make a difference in the lives of others. And I then think that then that comes forward in how then people make a difference in my life as well. So I think that's what's there for me.
For me, I thought it was very interesting to see the many different paths to leadership that particularly people interviewed in the book, and they interviewed a variety of different types of leaders who had all taken very different paths to leadership. That resonated with me because I took a very alternative, what most people would still in this day and age consider to be an alternative path to leadership. And in terms of leadership skills, what I noted about the book is also this concept of servant leadership, although I don't know that anybody actually called it that. We call it that at our firm, at Greenberg Traurig. The first managing shareholder meeting that I ever went to, our one of our co-chairs of the firm and our former longtime CEO, who grew the firm from 325 lawyers primarily based out of Miami to 1,800 lawyers with 37 offices. And the first thing he said is, you know, many of you are here maybe for the first time, and if you're here for yourself, we're going to find you a different job. because he believes and believed then and still believes in the concept of servant leadership. And you can take that really to all aspects of where you lead. We all lead in different ways. We have bar leaders here. I was involved in the bar early in my career. I decided that that wasn't the right path for me. I think you need to do what you love. And I really loved business. That's what I loved. And I loved developing client relationships, and I loved being a leader in business. And for me, the same concept of servant leadership holds true, because you should be focused on what contributions can you make to the organization to make the organization better, to help the people in the organization feel like they are on a path for success, like they are supported. And if you lead with a view toward that, then you're going to be successful, and that carries over into all different types of leadership. And one example I spoke to Nina about, Judge Richardson about, when we spoke before the panel was, leading with client relationships. One thing I did last year with someone mentioned, do you know Nikki Lewis Simon at my firm? And yes, I do. And Nikki and I did this collaborative event with Morgan Stanley, one of the firm's key clients, together in New York with their women's initiative. Nobody had a title or a role in this leadership event, but it was a collaborative event in New York. We had about 100 people there, 50 from Greenberg Traurig, 50 from Morgan Stanley, but you could take that down to a much smaller level, right? And we had Hillary Bass, who's our co-president, and she's soon to be the president of the ABA, speak and do sort of a fireside chat on sort of her path to leadership and sharing these leadership stories that she had. And so there are lots of different ways that you can lead. If it's bar service, that's great, but that's only one way. It could be internally within your firm. It could be externally in collaboration with your clients. Very important, you don't need a title to be a leader. You don't need a title to be a leader. So that would be mine.
That's at least 3 cents, right?
I'm sorry.
So in going through reading this book, I thought a lot about my leadership style and how, some of these nuggets applied. And yesterday in a committee meeting, one of the committee members just shared a quote that I thought was actually quite befitting, and I wanted to share it with you. And it's from Nelson Mandela, who says, "Lead from behind and put others in front. Step up only to the front, only when there is danger." Okay? And that to me is how I believe, or how I see myself as a leader. I think it's one of the concepts, and that really is servant leadership as well, right? So I think that's a common theme. One of the, two of the things that are components of the Leadership Academy, which I've been very involved in, is, and I see some Leadership Academy fellows here, and Iris as well, is that the first component is self-awareness. So there are DISC assessments that are given to the fellows to really learn about who they are and their core, really focus on core values and how they show up. And it's only then that we look at how they use those leadership skills and who they are to become very effective leaders. And I bring that up to say that, and servant leadership is a huge component as well. So I bring both of those facts up to say that in a curriculum of a leadership program, those are two key components, and both Lorna and Tracy have spoken to that as well. So servant leadership is key. So from my approach, when I lead others, I like to empower those that I lead. Only if they mess up do I then come to their rescue, right? So what I've found in doing so, people shine. You allow people to shine, and it also frees you up to do more. And so I think that that's something that I also got from the book and applies to myself. the other thing that I wanted to share is that I coined this phrase for myself called optimizing opportunities. And that's a characteristic that I know that I have consistently tried to do in my own life. And one example I give is, it was mentioned in my bio that I was appointed to the University of Florida Board of Trustees. And I optimized that opportunity. So here's what happened. I have a very, very dear friend who called me and said that she became aware of this opening on the University of Florida Board of Trustees, and that because I was a double gator and because I had been very involved, that she thought I'd be great for it. So she talked me up and said, oh, you should do this, you should apply. And only at the end of the conversation, after I'd committed to doing it because it sounded like a great opportunity, did she share that the application was 32 pages long and due the next day by 5 p.m. Now, the easier thing would have been, well, I'll just wait for the next vacancy. This really sounds great, but there is no way I'm going to get that done. But I had to make a decision right there because I didn't have a minute to spare. Am I going to go in and try for this or am I not? And I decided to go for it, right? So up all night, filled out the application in its entirety, knowing a couple of things. First, that this is a significant time commitment, one that I would have to ask the company whether they were willing to allow me to do. And I had not been able to have that clearance because I had no time. And I decided, well, I'm going to make a decision to do this and figure it out afterwards. And so after that application went in and I was called and interviewed by the governor and then appointed, that is, that all happened in fairly short order. But had I not seized the moment and really gone for that, even in those really challenging situation, that would not have happened for me. And so I really encourage everyone to just go for it. And you don't know what it yields. And it's just been a tremendous experience. So I'm all about optimizing opportunity.
Oh, thank you. And I will say this about Juliet. She walks the talk because just a little while ago, I looked at her and said, are we going to get a break anytime soon? And she looked at me and she said, do you need a potty break? Because I do. And she took the leadership path. And she wrote a note to our moderator and asked for a break, which was not in the game, what was not in the plan. So thank you, Juliet. And Juliet's been a great friend to me over the years. So my takeaway from this book, it's amazing to me how many women were interviewed, but the universal themes are all the same, and they're quite simple. The number one universal theme in all of these leaders, and in most leadership books that you will read, is you have to be who you are, because you can't be anyone else, at least not authentically. So you have to dig deep and figure out what is it that drives you, what is it that inspires you, and then be that. Once you do that and you find what some people call is your true north, be positive about it and be passionate about it. Believe in yourself and in your vision, and then communicate that to others. And I wrote this down. Once you communicate your vision to others, you want to recruit and inspire others to help you along the way, and then you support them along the way. And it's, to me, what you see throughout this book in all of the different leaders that are in there, and I think in life. And since Juliet gave a quote, I want to give a quote that I heard recently, and it isn't necessarily about leadership per se, but I think it's important to hear this in the context of everything we're doing here. And it's from Viktor Frankl on the search for success. And it goes like this. Don't aim at success. The more you aim at it and make it a target, the more you're going to miss it. For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. it must ensue. And it only does so as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself. And I believe when you find that cause greater than yourself, and usually it is in the service of others, a client, a needy family member, that's when your true leadership skills naturally shine.
I get the short. That's why I'm leaning like this. Oh, thank you. Look, she's leading. Okay, and you can't do it alone. So, what my takeaway and my leadership style is all about relationship building, and because you can't do this alone. And I think I've said this before. I'm a people person, so that's my strength, and I use that. And I happen to love lawyers. I love being around lawyers. I especially love being around women lawyers. And that gives me so much great personal and professional satisfaction. And so, it drives so much of what I do is the service to, the Florida Bar and other voluntary bar organizations. And so that to me is the way that has helped me both professionally and personally by the people that I've met. And certainly in the way that more of an in-your-face type of leadership style, I never make apologies for who I am or what I want. I've been very, very fortunate to have been given leadership opportunities, and it's not necessarily because someone says, hey, do you want to be president of the Palm Beach County Bar? No, it was, I want to be president of the Palm Beach County Bar, so I need help. I'm not going to do this by myself. I can't do this by myself. I need you to feel invested in the process. And I love building consensus, and collaborating and have people help me. I help people get what they want, and we help each other to achieve what we want. So we can't do this by ourselves. Just because I know that we're sort of really running out of time, and I know there are questions, could I just address something oh, okay. So just one other thing about that wasn't addressed when we were talking about ladders. Okay. Even in your own organization in fall, there's a ladder, and good or bad or otherwise. And I know that this year I was made aware that there was a bucking of the ladder. And you know what? That's a good thing too. Okay? It's not necessarily a bad thing to do that. So, okay. 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 Burning question.
So during the break, Marcy and I were talking about our career paths. We're both in-house at big corporations. And traditionally, when you're looking at bar leadership, it's people in the traditional practice of law. And now we're seeing people that are using alternative methods for their law degree, which is what we're doing. So how do you get a bar position with that background?
And that's because these are folks who are not necessarily going to be litigators running into court every day. You're not in government service that you're there. And so you may be in a very small corporate, a general counsel's office. So how do you get involved? And that's like a great point, because it's important for folks like you and your backgrounds and your opinions. You matter to the bar. So, and I'm sure we all have, because this is sort of Juliet's thing. So I just was going to say, contact, well, I'm going to let Juliet do it. This is her thing. So go ahead.
All right. First of all, I'm very excited that you're both in-house and that you're here, right? So one of the struggles we have as in-house lawyers is many corporations don't necessarily find the value in your engaging in this type of activity. There's more of a corporate approach, and you go to different conferences that have more to do with business. So the first thing is that you have to speak up about the value of your being involved in the bar associations and attend and get to know people, and then apply. As simple as that, apply. Because I was involved in, in local bar association activities. I became aware of committee opportunities and, which Michelle stressed. That was my entree into bar work. Absolutely just applying for a committee. Certainly. Grievance committees, exactly, who are local. You would go to your individual bar representatives on the Board of Governors and tell them you're interested in being appointed to a grievance committee. But getting to know people and getting involved and then applying for positions as they come up. Absolutely. And because there's a dearth of us, I mean, I have actually been called upon to do so much in terms of on the corporate side. It is an area that the bar will welcome. So you'd be astonished at how much, that'd be good.
Great. Yes, another question? No.
I want to ask a question about business development and women specifically. Do you think women have a certain way of developing business? Are there strategies that you have used that you think are particular to yourself as a woman versus a man? And where does gender fit into that?
There are, I guess, some differences. I really haven't noted them. I think this is going to sound so politically incorrect. You need to learn how to develop business like a man. Men ask for the work, and that is the biggest hurdle. It sounds so simple. It really sounds so simple, but it is the biggest hurdle for women that I have seen at big law firms and amongst large corporate clients, is they don't actually ask for the work. They have the same lunches that men have. They have the same dinners that men have. They do great work. And when they finish a case and they win a case and they say to the client, wasn't that great? And the client says yes. What they need to do is say, what's the next case I'm working on for you? Because I did such a great job and we're so great together and we do such great work for you. What else can I help you with? I mean, for me, you really need to take an active role. If you want to be a business developer, you need to take an active role in developing business. You cannot sit in your office and expect for work to land on your lap. And you don't have to be a partner to do it. You can be a young associate developing relationships, back to relationships, because that's really the key. Developing relationships, and I think, Lorna, you said it before, sometimes your sponsors are actually outside of your firm and their clients. And I can tell you a real life example. I think I'm sorry to call you out again, Liz, but you're here. And Liz is a perfect example of somebody at our firm who, she's a 6th-year lawyer at Greenberg Traurig, and she already has incredible business development skills. Why? She has developed unbelievable relationships with the in-house lawyers that we do business with on a regular basis, and she asks them for work. Do you have a small matter that I could work on? Because I would really love to work with you on that matter. And you know what? They call me up and they ask for her to work on small matters. In fact, not only do they do that, they try to find small matters to give to her because they want to support her and support her development. I mean, she just tried a case a few weeks ago, a small case, but it was a case that didn't need a partner on it. And the Morgan Stanley in-house lawyer called me and said, I found something that I could give to Liz and she could try it all by herself and it'll be great. And she came down here and flew down here from New York and they had dinner and they tried the case and it was a fantastic opportunity. And I have no doubt that at the end of that case, and she just won it. So at the end, but you know, Liz will have probably because she is around me so much, will have no hesitation about saying, so what's the next case you're going to send me? Because and sometimes it's just that simple. You've got to ask for the work. I know it sounds almost too simple, but so many women fall short of asking for the work. And you've got to ask for the work. That is the number one piece of advice for business development.
And I think the problem is also because we're perceived. You're worried about how you're perceived. Am I being too aggressive? We're worried about what are people going to think? Are we being pushy? Yes. Well, do you want to make money? Yeah, you could, please do pro bono as much as possible, but we also, this is a business, and we do have to, especially, as now a solo practitioner, you can rely only so much on advertising, but like we said, it's all about relationships and saying, by the way, keep me and be top of mind.
And just one other thing that I would add too is stressing the building of relationships. The people that you have those existing relationships with, who are your supporters and are your promoters, ask them to introduce you to other people who can give you work. Because you know what? They will. They will. They'll introduce you to other people within their legal department who will give you work. So it's building those relationships that is the key factor in developing business.
And after Lorna, unfortunately, I'm going to invite those of you who I didn't get to your question to stay, unless you have to go to a luncheon, because I am sensitive to all of your time. I know there are so many things going on. So we're going to have Lorna speak. Then there's going to be some brief announcements. We're going to do the raffle. So for those of you, please stay if you can, so that we can answer your questions, amongst ourselves. That way we can at least try to keep to the time. So Lorna?
Yeah, I really just want to add, even as someone who has a small firm, one of the things that I had to get out of my comfort zone with was definitely asking. And it is really that. And it was actually a male mentor who said that. He said, "You're good at what you do. Promote it." And so I had to get out of that comfort zone of, oh my God, I am tooting my own horn, to it's okay. And one of the things that the book talks about, which I think is so good, is, she gives an example of a partner sending out an email who has the ability to do this, and the female wanting to go to the partner that she directly worked with to get permission before she answered, and the male, who had also the knowledge of this, just went directly to that partner. And sometimes we as women wait to get that permission, wait to get that approval, and I now come from the standpoint is, I'll ask forgiveness later, but I'm going to step out and I'm going to ask. And the only thing you can say to me is no, and that's okay. And so I think that's where it was. And recently, dealing with client development, it's a step that I took. I got the name of someone, and I went there, and I made that appointment. Now, I didn't know this gentleman from anything, but I got through to his secretary, and I got through to him, and I made that appointment, and I got in there. So sometimes it's just saying, look, if this is really what you want, go for it, and all you can do later is ask for forgiveness, and that's going to be okay also.
So I'm going to close this wonderful panel with their own words. But I did want to just highlight to you that on page 25 of the book, the author does the leadership list. And you can read that for yourself. But guess what? I want to read the leadership list that was given to us by our amazing panel. And as you saw, I was writing down some leadership lists as they were sharing their stories. Servant leadership seemed to be coming up with almost every one of them. Servant leadership, serving others, be true to yourself, build relationships, love what you are doing, empower others, optimizing opportunity when it comes to you, be authentic, believe in yourself, and that's okay. Service to a cause greater than yourself. Relationship building kept coming up. And with that, I'm going to close. Thank you to our awesome panel. Thank you to our fall leadership for allowing these programs to happen so that we can come together and learn from each other. And I encourage fall to keep being the leaders that you are and to call on any one of us as you need us. And thank you to each one of you. You are so attentive, and each one of you could probably be on a panel in your own right. And so I hope that I get to hear you and hear your stories. And so thank you so much for being so attentive. You are wonderful. And with that, have a wonderful rest of the convention.
Thank you, Judge Richardson.